Hello fellow creatives, welcome or welcome back to today. Today's video is going to be the guide on how to sew stretchy fabrics properly, okay, because we all know stretchy fabrics can be quite a lot to handle. I've worked with quite a lot of stretchy fabrics, from jersey knits to velvet fabric, and I just decided, okay, why don't I just make a video, putting my fellow creatives on, okay, on all the tips and tricks that I use, as well as all of the tools that I use in order to make the sewing process easier. Okay, so yeah, if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, and you're probably tried to sew with stretchy fabrics before and you have been totally disappointed in the way it turned out because the stitches are not stitching, the fit is not fitting, then make sure you keep on watching. Alright guys, so we're going to be talking about the tools that you would need in order for you to sew your stretchy fabrics properly. Okay, so I have a list of 3 tools, and these are the tools that I use personally. Okay, so there are other vital tools, but it's just that they were not easily accessible to me, so that's why I'm not using them now, but I'm still going to touch upon them after I talk about the ones that I'm using currently that are working for me personally. Okay, so the first thing on my list is your stretch stitch. So a stretch stitch is basically a stitch that would be able to stretch along with the fabric. Okay, so there are different types of stretch stitches. Okay, so the main one that we have is zigzag stitch. Okay, that is the one that you will see with most tabletop machines. With zigzag stitches, you can be rest assured that that seam is not going anywhere. Okay, your seams are not going to be opening up because it can actually accommodate any stretch that you give to the fabric. Your seams are going to be intact all of the time. And then the next thing on my list is a stretch needle. Okay, so a stretch needle is basically a specific type of needle that we cater for stretchy fabrics alone. Okay, so you guys actually got this set of needles. I got a set of super stretch needles, and you guys, I don't know, there are so many times that you would want to sew. If you're just sewing with like a normal all-purpose needle, you would notice that few things can go wrong. It's either sewing is not an easy process, it's not an enjoyable process because the thread will just keep on breaking as you're sewing, just keep on breaking, or the stitches are going to be skipping. So of course, these manufacturers of these needles have created those needles in a particular way to ensure that it is going to cater to stretchy fabrics alone. Okay, so I got my set of stretch needles this year, and you guys, I've made a total of, I think, 4 projects with stretchy fabrics now, and you guys, I have not had a problem whatsoever. Okay, I've not had a problem with thread breaking, stitches skipping, no. And this thing, it was like, how much did I buy? I bought it like for like 3.5, and it's like a set. Okay, so you guys, don't skip on that one. Okay, don't skip on stretch needles, do not skip on stretch needles. Okay, so the last but not least is using gum stay to stabilize your stretchy fabric. Okay, so what this does is that it literally turns it into a non-stretch fabric. It turns that part that you've put the gum stay in to a non-stretch fabric, and this is a game changer if you want to sew your necklines. For instance, you want to sew your hemlines and you don't want that part to stretch, you want that part to stay put, you want that part to stay firm, then get your gum stay and you have that part set. Okay, so yeah, that is just my last tool. Just going to be telling you about the other tools that you can use. So the first tool that you can use is a serger. Okay, so what the serger does is that it's like an overlocker. It's like the overlocker that I have here. But what makes the one that you can use for stretchy fabrics different is that there's an overlocker that will literally have that overlocking stitch, right? But beside it, there will not be like a straight stitch. Okay, a straight stretch stitch. Okay, so you'll notice that as you're sewing it, fine, it's going to be giving you that overlocking stitch, but it's also going to be giving you the straight stitch that'll be able to enclose your seam properly. So it's like a 2-in-1 sewing machine. It's really, really cool, but it's kind of pricey. Okay, it's kind of pricey, so we're gonna hold on that bit. But if you have the capacities to get it, and you've seen something like that in Nigeria, please go ahead and get yours, because trust me, it's just going to make your sewing life easier, and that is what we all aspire for, right? So the next sewing tool that can be really, really, really helpful to you when you're sewing your stretchy fabrics is a polyester thread. Okay, so I don't know if it's just me, but in Nigeria, thread is thread. Okay, there's no cotton thread, polyester thread. No, thread is thread. I want to buy thread and they'll give you thread. Okay, but apparently threads have different types. Okay, because threads are still fiber at the end of the day. Okay, and with fiber, they can be made of different types of materials. Okay, so apparently there is a polyester thread, and this polyester thread has a little bit of stretch. Okay, so it's just going to assist all of your tools, all of the tools that you're using. It's just going to assist it in order to ensure that once you sew, all your seams are just going to be in place, rather than it being the cotton thread that doesn't have any stretch whatsoever. If you can get your hands on some polyester thread, It's gonna help you a lot. Okay, it's gonna help you a lot. And it's also a stitch that we can use with the twin needle. Okay, it's mostly used in terms of like trying to sew hemlines of the stretchy fabric garments. Okay, so at the actual visible part of the seam, you're going to be able to see just two lines. Okay, because it's a twin needle, so it has two different needles in one, so you'll be able to see the hemlines on the outer part of the garment, but inside the garment you will notice that it has this crisscross thing. Okay, so that is just like the professional finish stitch for garments. So yeah, you guys, that is literally it for all of the tools that I have used previously, as well as the tools that I intend to use in the future, in order to just make sewing stretchy fabrics easier for me. Now that we're done with that, let us move on to the actual tips and tricks for cutting and sewing your stretchy fabrics into wonderful garments. So the first tip that I have is something that I actually discovered recently, is that using chalk while trying to make your markings on your fabric is a no-no. It's a no-no, okay, because with chalk you have to actually press it on the fabric in order for you to be able to get those lines on the fabric. You would be stretching it, and because stretchy fabric can actually stretch, so if you stretch it, it's going to stretch, and you will notice that all your lines are not accurate. So I use markers, and you guys, it was such a better process. It had to lightly just make marks with the marker, and it went perfectly. Okay, so for this one there's actually an invisible pen that you can mark on fabric, and it's going to disappear in some time. But since I didn't have that, I just used my regular marker. So that is not really best practice, honestly. You can just get your invisible pen and just use that instead, but because I didn't have that, I used my marker. And yeah, that is just after that. And you guys, it was such an easy process. I didn't have to worry about the pattern moving anywhere or anything like that. And yeah, that is just one tip that if you don't know, you're welcome. The next tip that I have for you is that when you're sewing with stretchy fabrics and you want it to fit on your body, okay, you want it to be a fitted dress, you should always remove some measurements. Always ensure that you remove at least 1 inch from your original measurements. Okay, so the original measurements that you would use when you are working with normal fabric, you always want to remove 1 inch. And this is because with stretchy fabric, it has the ability to stretch. Okay, so if you use your normal measurements, that stretch is still going to be there, okay, and it will just won't give that really fitted, like you won't be taking full advantage of the wonderful perks that sewing stretchy fabrics has. So that is just one thing. I want to remove 1 inch, and you will notice that all your garments are just going to fit properly. They're going to fit right, they're going to suck you in because you have removed that excess fabric. Okay, so it's a standard. Actually, this is a standard, and if you don't do it, you will notice that your garments are not coming out right. I don't know if you've ever tried it, so just leave a comment down below, because I'm sure you've had that experience where you will sew a bodycon dress with stretchy fabric and you will use your normal measurements, but it's not fitting right, it's fitting loose. What's happening? Well, that is just a tip, and yeah, it's a life-saving tip, honestly, if you don't know about it. So yeah, you're welcome. And then the next tip that you can use is that you can make use of a walking foot, because the walking foot can still help, especially if you're working with 2 different layers of fabric and you want to ensure that one is not stretching more than the other. So this just really does help when you are doing that in terms of that. So if you notice that, okay, as you're sewing, one layer is stretching more than the other, and at the end of the day the hem is not aligning, that is probably one of the reasons why, because stretchy fabric has the ability to stretch, so any opportunity that it sees is going to stretch. Okay, so in order for you to curb that, you can actually make use of a walking foot in order to ensure that as the seam is going, all the layers that you're working with are going on the same piece, and things are just going smoothly. Okay, so that is just another tip that you want to take note of. And then another tip that I have for you is that when you're sewing, do not give into the urge to pull your fabric while you're sewing. It can be so sweet as you're sewing, just just be pulling the fabric, because it's sweet, man. You're enjoying sewing. No, because half of the time you're the one causing the problem for yourself, and when you're not finished sewing, you notice that this is creasing a bit. So you just have to ensure that as you're sewing, of course you don't want to just be leaving it like that. No, you still have to hold it, but you just have to hold it hot, okay? Because one thing with stretchy fabric is that, as I've said countless times before, stretchy fabric is going to stretch. Once it sees the opportunity like this, it's stretching. So you want to ensure that as you're sewing, you're always conscious of the fact that you are not stretching the fabric as you're sewing, because that will just cause problems at the end of the day. Just cause unnecessary creasing, unnecessary cutting of the thread, and all of that. Okay guys, so the last and final tip that I'm going to be giving you in this video is that patience is key. Okay, trust me you guys, patience is key when working with stretchy fabrics, because all of these tips that I've given you, it's only somebody that is patient and somebody that actually wants to take their time to actually sew the garments and ensure that the stretchy fabric is not going to disturb them it's all these little steps that you do that are really going to ensure that at the end of the day all your stretchy fabric garments are going to come out perfectly. Okay, so patience is key. Okay, and you want to ensure that as you're sewing you're not rushing. Just take your time as you're sewing. If you notice that, oh, this fabric is curling, just get your gum stay and just use it. Because I sorry, like literally all these things you actually know them, but just because you're in a rush to get this thing done, you're in a rush to get this thing done, you don't want to do them because they're extra steps. You can actually do them. You don't have to use a different needle, but it's not going to be the best that you could do. And at the end of the day, you notice that once it gets to like 1 month, 2 months of wear, like the seams are ripping, the fit is not fitting anymore, it's out of shape and all of that. Okay, so yeah, that is just the last tip, and that is just like the overall tip of this video, is that you need to be patient when sewing your stretchy fabrics. Okay, so yeah, that is just that for this video. That is just that for all of the guidelines that I have for you in terms of saying stretchy fabrics. Of course, there are more as I explained, but these are just the personal ones that I have used over the years and that have worked for me. So yeah, thank you so much for watching today's video. I really do hope that you enjoyed it, and I hope that you learned something new from this video. So yeah, please, if you did, like this video, subscribe, share, comment, do everything that you can do in order to support me, because it really just helps a lot. Okay guys, it helps a lot. It makes my heart smile when I see your comments and your likes and all of that. Okay, so yeah, that is just that for that. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.